In the early stages of the 2022 Formula One season, the Mercedes team's underperformance has been an unavoidable topic of discussion. Even Mercedes' sheer dominance during the turbo hybrid era, during which they won 7 World Drivers' Championships and 8 World Constructors' Championships, their fall from grace is even more pronounced than usual. Now, the team is struggling to compete with some midfield teams, with Saudi Arabia yet another disappointment. This has been especially hard on Mercedes recruit George Russell, who left the frankly inept Williams team only to find himself in yet another disaster, despite being touted as a title contender before pre-season testing. So what is George Russell's take on the W13, and how does he expect the team to get out of its bind? Let's find out. Russell noted that a number of parameters contributed to the porpoising that had plagued Mercedes since testing, making resolution all the more difficult. There are so many factors at play between the mechanical stiffness of the car and the stiffness of the floors, the design of the floors, tyre pressures, engine mode as well. The faster you go, the worse it gets. So it makes it harder for qualifying because we turn the engines up, maximise power, go quicker down the straight, which causes more downforce and causes more porpoising. So we almost need to preempt this issue. And also in the race, when you have the DRS closed, you have more downforce than you do with the DRS open. And that's another factor we need to consider. We're still learning. And that's why we're far from optimal. But that's why I said if we solve the porpoising, that would cure, I would say, 99% of our issues. Meanwhile, Russell also admitted that he had no idea how long it would take for the team to solve the problem. We are going to start trying to develop the car around the issues, but we need to solve the underlying problem, which is the porpoising. All of these cars perform best at low ride height, and we just can't get anywhere close to where our rivals are running. Timeline, to be honest, really no idea. We definitely got information we're continuing to learn. At the moment, we're making baby steps, so we need to make some leaps and bounds, and we're struggling to find that silver bullet to resolve our issues. I've got no doubt when we do that, we will find a chunk of lap time, but as I said before, it's easier said than done. But while Russell stated that his car felt good after finishing 5th in the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, he also stated that the final result indicated that he was around a second per lap slower than the front runners. On Saturday evening, he stated equivocally that bearing any problems ahead, 5th was his realistic target on merit, after passing Ocon with a daring move on the 3rd lap. He finished well ahead of the Frenchman. The car felt good, in all honesty. I think we maximised the balance. We just know what we're lacking, and that's downforce, ultimately. Pushing flat out, I was really pleased with how the performance was from my personal side. Really well managed, did my best to keep up with the Red Bulls, especially after the restart. I did everything to stay within the DRS zone. We're a second behind them generally. We've got work to do, so we need to go back and review the data. But everyone knows what we need to improve on. Despite the fact that Russell was easily the best Mercedes driver in both qualifying and in the race, the gap between Mercedes and the likes of Red Bull and Ferrari remains significant, despite the Silver Arrow's relative progress. I don't know, because we're still on average a second behind Red Bull and Ferrari in the race then. So we're making baby steps at the moment. We just need to make bigger leaps. I'm sure we can do that. Timeline, I don't know. At the end of the day, the others are continuing to prove as well. So we're improving, they're improving, we just need to do it at a faster rate. Russell spent much of the race in Jeddah with little action around him, but he described it as enjoyable and the most physical race he has ever experienced in Formula One. Having said that, he isn't there to go through all of that for a P5 finish. It was quite an enjoyable race considering I was all by myself throughout, pushing as hard as I could. Probably say the most physical race I've ever experienced in Formula One, which was pretty cool to experience really, because that's what it's all about really, pushing hard on that mega circuit like this, high speed. I think all the drivers were pushed to the limit in that race. But I want to be doing this for victories, not for P5 all by myself. We have work to do. but maximised everything. According to Russell, the W13 was feeling well balanced out on the track, but he simply lacked the grip to finish higher than P5. The car was feeling generally good, to be honest. The balance of the car was great and it felt really, really nice to drive. We're just lacking overall grip, so there's not a lot more we can do from that. I just think that was the maximum today. Apart from reducing stability, porpoising makes it more difficult for the driver to feel the car intuitively, something that is absolutely necessary when selecting a setup and development direction for the car, implying that porpoising can exacerbate even the most disconnected issues. While F1 has its fair share of buzzwords, one in particular has been making the rounds in 2022 is porpoising. While the underlying aerodynamics can be quite complex, veteran F1 journalist Mark Hughes summed up the phenomenon as follows: "A violent bouncing on the suspension at high speeds is what a driver feels. The cause is an aerodynamic one, where either the leading edge on the floor or perhaps the front wing is pushed ever closer to the ground as the downforce acting upon it increases. The closer to the ground it gets, the more powerful the ground effect is, as the air rushes ever faster through the shrinking gap. The downforce forces the car so low that the floor touches the asphalt, as the pressure difference between the air above and below the car grows, halting the car's ability to generate downforce for a fraction of a second. This causes the car's suspension to rebound, and the process to repeat itself. Ferrari appears to have resolved the issue much sooner than Mercedes, in part due to having spent significantly more effort on aero testing prior to the 2022 season, as Mercedes were busy developing their 2021 machine. Current championship leader Charles Leclerc confirms this as early as March the 11th, claiming that while Ferrari experienced porpoising issues during their February tests in Spain, these issues were largely resolved even before the Bahrain GP. So what is Mercedes' strategy to get back on their feet? While Mercedes is short on details, most likely because he doesn't want to give juicy information to rival teams, Chief Technical Officer James Allison hinted at the short-term plan that Toto Wolff has previously visited. Following Bahrain, the team boss revealed that a simple fix would be to raise the car's suspension slightly. This would reduce the massive air pressure differences between the car's upper and lower sides, at the expense of top speed. Which brings us to the engine. Looking back on the race, it's clear that Red Bull and Ferrari were able to power down the straights much better than the Mercedes cars. Even Magnussen's Ferrari-powered Haas was giving Hamilton a run for his money on a few laps. Allison and Wolff both dismissed the idea that Ferrari and Red Bull had significantly stronger engines, with Wolff casually flipping a hand at the prospect of engine trouble. "We need to fine-tune the engine also, but that engine has won us 8 championships and is going to continue to do a good job for us." Rather, the problem, according to both CEO and the CTO, is the Mercedes W13's drag coefficient, a recurring theme in Mercedes' 2022 woes. We're a bit over-winged, too much drag. If you take a look at all the cars on the grid, you'll notice that we were running the biggest rear wing. Indeed, Mercedes' wings were significantly larger than their competitors, providing much-needed downforce, but severely limiting the car's top speed potential. Wolff claimed this accounted for half or 2/3 of the difference in their reduced performance. So what can Mercedes do to address this? Not much, at least not right away. Allison stated that while the wing is still required to maintain Mercedes' current non-competitive but stable racing, the team intends to accelerate things very soon. With a bit of luck, and in the coming races, we will rapidly improve our car. This will also allow us to drag some rear wing out and allow us to pick up some speed on the straights as a consequence. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel, and don't forget to click the bell button to be notified of future videos. Please leave your thoughts in the comment section below. What are your thoughts on George Russell's performance thus far? Are you impressed? Do you believe Mercedes will be able to resolve their porpoising problem anytime soon? We'd love to hear what you think.